All right, time to wrap up the 2021 lineup as of me speaking, as of me recording this video. Sorry for a little bit of a 2 day delay in between, but I'm here to finally talk about and narrow down to the best animes of 2021, more specifically, the top 10, typically top 10 best anime to come out of that year. So you already know the gist. You already know how it goes. If you watch the trashiest animes of 2021 and my worst animes video of 2021, and obviously all the other videos prior to this from 2020, then you know how this should be going up until this point. So without further ado, let's get into the top tens. Okay, and now, as you can see, here's my list. The topsters here. And before I actually go into the top 10s, I actually want to do a lot of quick honorable mentions because, as you know, 2021 was actually such a great year for some amazing, amazing animes that I remember I gave a lot of 10 out of 10s that year, believe it or not. Some I've changed up over the years, some I haven't. But best be known that I will be talking about the top 10. But for now, I want to kind of speed run some pretty big honorable mentions as they just couldn't make it to the top 10 for reasons as I'll get into. So, as you see here from the 11th spot up to the 25th spot on my list here, these are all the honorable mentions. You can reap it, read it, seep it, whatever. And the ones I just want to mainly focus on, if you've already read through this as I was talking just now, or you can pause the video and check out the list of all the honorable mentions here, is simply this. So first off, let's start with the big one that's pretty controversial right off the bat, Redo the Healer. Now, look, I know Redo the Healer has gotten a lot of slack over the years, and given how controversial the show is, but you can't deny that this is one of the most talked about shows that came out in 2021 for all the right reasons, but for also all the wrong reasons. And for me, I couldn't really get this show off of my best anime list because of how this show was super, super talked about when it came out at the time. So again, there's a lot of ice and tea spilt regarding this show. I'm not going to talk about it here in this top 10 for the sake of obviously given how controversial the show is. But basically, Redo of a Healer to me is an okay, but not a show I would recommend. It's only for those for the faint of heart who have a chance to give this a shot. And I'll leave it at that. So that's rule number one out of the way. Number two, I'm going to get out of the way are shows that also came out that year, which is Ijo Nani Nagatoro-san and Komi-san. Two shows that I've argued in the past about where, again, they both come from like the same somewhat kind of genre of like teasing anime genre and like the shy, quiet girl anime genre. I guess that makes sense. But as you know, Komi-san has been through like development hell. A lot of people have been wanting and waiting for an adaptation of the show, and we finally got gifted of it back in 2021. And I thought that it was really good. I think that this first season, while it's not super great and maybe they didn't meet to a lot of people's expectations, I think this was a solid anime adaptation nonetheless. As for Ichinato no Kotora-san, same thing. I think that while this should have been adapted first before Uzaki-chan wants to hang out, I think that this was also a fun, really entertaining show that I think I did overrate at the time, but I will stand by this because again, this is a fun, bad, amazing show that will really get you like get your blood boiling and everything going ballistic. Next on the honorable mentions, we have Mariko-chan, which again I think Mariko-chan was one of the biggest standout animes to come out that year, one of the best fun bad animes to come out the year, and crazy I couldn't put this in my best trash anime of the top five, but it only made sense considering that it just wasn't trashy enough, but it was definitely like a memorable and really fun anime that's worth watching for anyone of all ages. And then to wrap up the honorable mentions, we have 86, where they dropped two parts. So 86 and the Slime Isekai Season 2, they both dropped two parts of their seasons. Both of them are really great, both of them are really iconic. However, one part is weaker over the other part, which I will admit, which is why they, unfortunately, as you know, these two kind of scrape it from the bottom barrel to making it to the top 10. And the same also is to be said about Blue Period, a show that, for me, Seven Arcs' best and most beautiful work to date. It's just such a shame that we never got a second season of the show because this show has a lot of potential to be much bigger than what it is. But given that this is from 2021, I don't think the show is going to really catch a lot of people's eyes and really get people talking about the show per se. But now that I kind of speed run all the honorable mentions, let's get into the best animes of 2021. And starting off with our number 10 spot here, we are going to go with this Quintessential Quintuplets Season 2. Look, what can truly be said about Quintessential Quintuplets that has been said already? Um, the second season of Quintessential Quintuplets is, for me, like everything that I loved about the season 2, if not better. The story of the show is a lot more thought provoking. The animation, despite the fact that this is under a different animation studio, Bilberry Animation Studios, is gorgeous. It is like a huge step up from the first season, and a lot of like ball and character revelations reveal. And this is honestly one of the most emotional and roller coaster ride shows that if you're into this genre, if you're into this type of thing, you're going to love and absolutely gush over grades for. And it's one of the reasons why I've given a lot of praise regarding to Bilberry Animation Studios to this day. Even though, again, we know how I felt about Witch Watch. So I'll leave it at that. At the number 9 spot, we have Skate. Not to be confused with what I have here, but yes. Um, Literally, it's an anime called Skate. Skate the Infinity, to be precise. This show by Bone Studios is still one of the most unique like viewing experiences ever, and it really like I don't know if I might be crazy and maybe I'm stupid because I haven't watched a lot of anime of this genre, but I never seen a skateboard anime hit this hard, hit this clean in like God knows forever. But to me, this is like a start of like a potentially great skateboard kind of anime that's kind of into like a different genre. This is still one of the most unique viewing experiences that I feel like anyone that wants to get into watching something new or unique should definitely give a shot. But skateboard or skate the infinity is definitely in my number 9 spot. At number 8, we have Tokyo Revengers, which, yes, I am aware that the most recent season of Tokyo Revengers isn't all too flattering. I understand there's a lot of like hate towards the recent seasons as of late, and I agree. The most recent seasons have been up to snuff, and they're not up to par because of how bad the animation is, how dismal and disappointing the performances are. But you have to admit the first season of Tokyo Avengers when this came out back in 2021 was in my view a huge refreshing start of where the shonen genre was. And yes, while it is basically like ReZero, but if it was for fucking grown-ups and they're in middle school gangs more or less, I think Tokyo Avengers still is one of the most standout shows to come out of 2021 because honestly, I remember the show so well, so vividly, up until the very end of that huge finale cliffhanger, where I was just paying attention and glued to my seat with each new episode that kept passing by every single week, wanting to know, like, man, where's our boy going to get into to try to fix things to make sure that he doesn't get involved in the horrible future that he's in right now, and how he's going to be able to solve the never-ending murders that's going on with within the friends and families that surround him. And it's so deep and so I'm sorry, it's so good, it's so great in what it portrays itself. And I just haven't been hooked on Tokyo Avengers as much as I've been in the later seasons, of course, since then. But I think there is hope, though, that with the final arc coming around the corner, I think Tokyo Avengers could prove to have a home run under their belt. But who knows? As of right now, though, I do agree that the first season of Tokyo Avengers is the strongest that the show is ever going to get. But I think that it is warranted that this is one of the best animes to come out of 2021, and because it was popular that year, I will say that much. At number 7, we have a show that was it is I think our first original show here, and that is Vivi. Yes. Oh, okay. Interesting. They don't have. I don't think they would have it on here. What a shame. But Vivi, Fluorite Ice Song. This show is absolutely incredible. I believe. Oh yeah, I can believe this is the poster. Oh yeah, nice. So this anime though is absolutely incredible. It is amazing by Wit Studios. This is like basically what would happen if you take like an album like of music and basically make it an anime's work. So to me, this is like the modern day Interstellar 5555 movie, but if it was like a long running anime show. Like you take all the qualities of that movie and then combine that with like a show like Plastic Memories, for example, that kind of goes in the same vein, and you get what I think is like one of the best original animes to come out of the year. It is absolutely pretty, it is gorgeous. The music on the show is top tier, iconic. I think that this is definitely one of the best sounding animes to come out of the year. That really stood on its own 2 feet, and in the plethora of shows that came out of 2021, this to me still holds up really strong over 4 years later to this day. But yeah, VV Floyd Ice Song is definitely a show that I don't think a lot of people talk about nowadays, but this is a show that I still praise and I will still 100% recommend for those who love music, who basically loves androids per se, and who loves like this post-apocalyptic future scene because it's so good, but it will leave you sad at the very end, and that's what I'll leave it at. At number six, we have a show that I think redefined the slice of life anime genre by a beloved studio called Kyoto Animation Studios. And this show was one of the shows that I've actually given a 10 out of 10 on. And that is the second season of Kobayashi Dragon Maid, or at the time when it came out, Kobayashi Dragon Maid S. This second season of Kobayashi was incredible. At the time, I did give it a 10, but I did change it to a 9 recently after a much thought, much debate. And Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid S was, at, at the time and even to this day, one of the most like benchmark gold standards of how to make a beautiful and amazing animated show that's not only like slice of life, but like kind of puts a lot of the modern day animation shows to shame because you also have to understand the history as to how the second season finally came to be. Because if you know what happened to Kyoto Animations prior to the release of this was released around the same time period when after the horrible fires that occurred. And during that time period, we would get like a slower release from Kyoto as a result, but they never stopped giving us quality top tier animation and voice acting. Like this show is incredible. The second season takes everything about the first season and elevates it to like a whole new level of like, oh my god, I feel like I'm watching like the best show in anime of all time. Like holy shit. And keep in mind, this came out before Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 came out. Like that's how crazy and ahead of the curve this show was. It still is ahead of the curve to this day. And a shame that I couldn't put it in the top 5 because there are 5 more shows that were somehow better and squeaked it out better than Kobayashi Dragon Maid S. So now we're gonna go into the top 5. And the top 5 is where it's gonna get super divisive, super crazy, and I just need you all to bear with me. So, at the number 5 spot, I have the second season of ReZero, a show that doesn't really need a lot of introduction at this point. I've talked about it many, many times in the past. Um, but more specifically, the show that really stood out to me as like the best show or the best season of ReZero in general is the second season overall. The second season of ReZero is absolutely the best. And obviously, there was a part two to the second season, as it was because it came out during a time period was it was stuck on that trend, unfortunately. But this second season, part two, was the show that I given a comfortable 10 out of 10 on. This was a near masterpiece of everything that Subaru has worked for, everything that Amelia has been through, and every character that we were able to experience from the first half of season two, all coming together to this big, amazing finale of a second half of season two that's so beautiful, super strong, is able to like resolve all the things that were present throughout the second season and give us a really hopeful cliffhanger that is so hard to replicate. And yes, I do love season three. Don't get me wrong, I do love season three. But I just don't know if ReZero could hit the same peak of holy shit, this is like a fucking masterpiece as amazing as season two was. Now, the reason, obviously, I can't put this any higher, and I actually wouldn't mind switching this over to Kobayashi Dragon Maid S season, is because unfortunately it is part of that season two part one, season two part two trend, and I think as I mentioned already that if I had to overall rate the second half of season two and the first half of season two, I would have given it like a comfortable 9 out of 10. at the time, and I still would to this day. This show is amazing. It's great. It has everything you want about ReZero, but now it's elevated to like a much more darker, more demented, and just like holy shit. There's so many connections to this crap that like it actually connects to like real life shit that happens in the world right now, and it's an emotional roller coaster ride. That's what I'll leave it at. Because, all right, at number four, this is where things are going to get really interesting. At number four, we have the final Gintama movie. Yep. Remember Gintama, the final movie that came out that year? The very final movie, indeed, came out that year. And this movie was holy shit. This is everything I love about Gintama. And believe me when I say this, Gintama is a show that needs no introduction at this point. If you've been super big in the anime community, this is a show that has been long awaited to get a finale and has been pushed for delay after delay of stuff. And originally it was supposed to come out during the COVID during 2020, but got pushed back because of COVID. But once we finally got this movie, man, this movie is top tier amazing. Animation's great. The characters in the show are fucking stellar. The way the movie ends, it ends in the way that's so fucking Gintama that really it ended on its own terms and in a way that can never ever be duplicated. And I'm just gonna say right now that Gintama is a franchise that will never ever be replicated, no matter how many knockoff shows or spin-offs ever come out past this point. Because I haven't found a show like this as this great and as iconic and as spectacular as Gintama. And the movie perfectly encapsulates that so fucking well that I just have nothing but praises about the show and this franchise to this day. If anything, if you really want to get into Gintama, this is your chance now to please go watch Gintama. Watch to the very fucking beginning of the show up until this movie. This is a fucking masterpiece of a show that I would also be glad to give a 10 out of 10 on. Ugh, but now we go into the top three. And the top three is where it's going to get dicey. It's going to get crazy. Number three spot, Mushoku Tensei. Yep, kind of a bit of a bias right here, right now, but fuck it. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna do what how tell it like it is. Mushoku Tensei season one is amazing. They did drop two parts from that year, and that's consideration for this list. Mushoku Tensei needs no introduction at this point. This is a show that is like a masterpiece of everything that has been going on with the isekai genre. This has been touted as the granddaddy of isekais to begin with. And the first season of Mushoku Tensei by Studio Bind, I believe, was freaking amazing. It was great. This was their first anime they started off with, and they came out with a fucking bang. And then, of course, fast forward to their recent seasons, and they're still fucking crushing it with the storytelling. They're still crushing with the animation, the voice acting. Everything is incredible about the show. And what I love about Mushoku Tensei's first season is that it already takes a formula, which is the isekai genre, and takes that formula and is like, okay, you guys already know how this shit goes. I'm not gonna bullshit you with all the little mumble jumble. I'm not gonna make a jokester, but I'm gonna put my own little twist of it and show you how it's fucking done. And Mushoku Tensei kicks ass, takes names, and steals your fucking lunch money while you're at it. Because Mushoku Tensei is a show that just cannot be fucked with. And this is a show that to this day I have huge high praise for. And with each passing season that's come around the corner, it makes me even more hyped for every new season that comes out past this point. So when Mushoku Tensei season three eventually comes out next year, I 100% will be looking forward to it because this is a show that is so far as we're with season two wrapped up already. It's good. It's still going strong, and I'm gonna just leave it at that. All right, at the number two spot though, we have another show, and actually the final season per se, and that is Fruits Basket's the final season. More specifically, Fruits Basket's 2019's version, the final season. So yeah, Fruits Basket's the final season. This is something that I've been, as someone who has read the manga of Fruits Baskets, had been patiently waiting for so long. And when this final season finally came out, I was really scared as to like how TMS Entertainment is going to actually adapt what came out in the manga. Because after all, the second season I absolutely did love, and this was definitely in my top 10 best animes of 2020, if you remember. But I wasn't sure if they're going to stick the landing. And holy shit, my prayers were fucking answered. They stuck the fucking landing. They not only stuck the landing, they did like five more fucking backflips to make sure that they stuck it super well. And Fruits Basket's the final season. Where do we begin with this? This is like considered to be the, in my view, the best slice of life ending of any anime out there, and is one that is just memorable and iconic for the masses. Again, if you obviously, given that this is the final season, if you don't know what happens prior to this final season, obviously watch the first two seasons. But to wrap this one up perfectly, just take all the comments I said about the Gintama final movie, and it all applies to Fruits Basket's the final season, but it's elevated so much better because we're getting so much character resolutions being resolved. A lot of character growth is finally being realized, and everything that has plagued the family of this show, um, as you can, the Soma family in the show, is resolved in such a beautiful and such a poetic way that, for me personally, I don't think we're ever going to get a finale this amazing, this iconic, and still talked about to this day because this show is just one for the masses, especially for those that love slice of life. So, yeah, undoubtedly, this show now as a whole, with it finally fully being adapted, is a show that I would also give a 10 out of 10 on. But there can be only one anime that stands at the number one spot of the best anime of 2021. This is a franchise that I've loved so much ever since I discovered it from such a young age. And this is a show that I think that if you look in my computer screen right now, there is a lot of, or sorry, in my background, you know what I'm going to be talking about. But my number one spot goes to this Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0, the final, long awaited, anticipated fucking movie. Thrice Upon a Time, this movie is undoubtedly the best Evangelion movie and finale ever. And it's funny because to think that 3.0, the last movie that came out prior to this, wasn't well received, it wasn't good. I also agree that it wasn't the best movie to come out from the franchise, but there was like a lot of people were skeptical considering that the first two movies were relatively done super well. The third movie, being You Cannot Redo, wasn't like the best, but it wasn't terrible in my opinion. But this movie, holy shit, this movie wraps up everything so beautifully, and to me is the final love letter goodbye to a beloved franchise that every anime fangoer who has kept up with this franchise since the 90s up until this point is like saying goodbye to. This movie resolves a lot of key plot points that were plagued from the third movie and it's elevated to a whole new level. On top of it, the ending is about as Evangelion esque of an ending as you would want. And again, there's not much more I can say. My praises of all the praises that I've talked about from like my last top four eh, will all more or less apply to Evangelion, more or less because the ending of Evangelion is so memorable, so satisfying. Every character that was bad at one point actually gets a happy-go-lucky conclusion that's actually worth watching, worth talking about. And to me, again, I wish I could gush over grades over this way more, but I would be here all fucking day talking about Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time as my number one best anime 2021. So yeah, there you have it. My top 10 best animes of 2021. Again, there's a lot here to unpack, obviously, given that maybe some of these may not be your favorites. Who cares? This is my top 10 here. And like I said, 2021 was a tough year to like kind of switch around what would have made in what position. But I'm happy to this day how this is placed out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. I will see you all in the next anime rant, and maybe in the future, going over the best, worst, and trashiest anime to come out of 2022. I'll see you on the next one. Later.